Hello everybody, welcome back to Jonny Plays Golf. We're here at Greenacres Golf Course with episode 2 of Break 90. Would I be able to break 90 or would I struggle to break 100 like episode 1? Like and subscribe and watch along. We start here on the first hole, a 283 yard par 4. I don't know about you guys, but for me, on the first hole of any golf course, I just like to see my drive get off the tee and somewhere up the hole. I was able to do that there. The drive only went about 185 to 190 yards, but it was on the fairway, so I was happy enough. Approach shot in the first, middle of the fairway, about 97 yards into the green. Unfortunately, it would leak out to the right a bit and we would miss the green. Unfortunately, missing the green would be compounded by a duff chip shot. A shake of the head as we walk away. Frustration was already building and we're only on hole 1. We would chip it onto the green to leave ourselves with a putt for bogey. The first putt of the day, we'd drop in the hole and we'd walk off the first with a bogey, which isn't bad if you're trying to break 90. 18 bogeys and you're laughing. Second hole, 360 yard par 4. Always think a good drive's needed in this hole because if you go right, you're in the trees. If you go left, you're on the third hole. So I was happy to see this one fly straight up the middle. And that drive would carry about 212 yards all in, which left us about 150 yards roughly to the centre of the green where the flag was. The approach shot was hit fat and ended up going a bit to the right. So we came up short and a bit right of the green. We tried to chip it up onto the green and completely made a meal of it, and would end up chipping it off the back of the green. Then in true 20 handicap fashion, we would chip it back off the front of the green. Then a below average attempt of chipping it back onto the green left as a tricky putt. The putt for double bogey would be missed. We would tap in for a triple bogey and quickly move on to the third hole. Moving on to the par 3 third hole, 179 yards all in. Tee shot will be pulled left of the green. You can see the tee off box, the effects of the good weather we've been getting recently. Hitting a second on the par 3, all the way to the green. This looked good to me in the air, but unfortunately it would trickle just off the back of the green. We would chip on, and the chip would run a wee bit out to the right, more than what I would have liked. From here, we would 2-putt, and we would walk off the third hole with a double bogey. And that would leave us 6 over after 3 holes. Onto the par 4 fourth hole, 324 yards, playing into a very, very strong breeze. We would catch the drive quite well here, but unfortunately it climbed a wee bit too far into the air and was held up by the wind and came down pretty short. From the centre of the fairway, albeit a wee bit further back than what I would have liked, I tried to hit a bit of a draw shot into the wind, see if I could hold it up a bit. Sort of overdid it a wee bit, and it was just off the left hand side of the green. I would chip onto the green from here, hoping to get close enough to the hole to give myself a chance for par. But unfortunately it would be a 2-putt bogey that we would walk away with. Over to the 380-yard par 4 fifth hole. I hit a high draw here with the driver, started down the right hand side of the fairway and cut back in and just run into the first cut of rough. Decent contact on the approach, but pulled it a bit to the left and ended up going into the bunker. And this was how not to play bunker shots. First one stays in the bunker. The second one, if it had been any further back, wouldn't have made it out, but thankfully it did and trickled onto the green. First putt here was for a bogey, and it would come up just a wee tiny bit short. Another roll or two and it would have been in the centre of the cup. But it would be another 2-putt, and this time it would be a double bogey. That brings us to the 147-yard par 3 sixth hole. Very, very bad tee shot. Was lucky to get across the water. Don't know how I got through the long stuff, but it did. And we were able to play a very, very good flop shot here and give ourselves a chance with a par putt. Unfortunately, the par putt would slide just past the hole. But as I said at the start, if I could walk off every hole with a bogey, I'd be laughing, so no complaints with the tap in for the bogey. Over to the par 4, 7th hole, 440 yards. It's the toughest hole in the golf course. Tried to hit a bit of a draw shot. Unfortunately, the ball would start right, stay right, and end up on the trees. Was able to chip through the trees and get myself back into play. Tried to go with a 3-wood from here just to try get myself down near the green. Pulled it a bit to the left. Still quite a bit to go here playing the 4th shot. It came up short. Not a bad chip up onto the green. And that putt unfortunately wouldn't make the hole. And it would be a very, very bad 3-putt. And we would walk off that hole with a quadruple bogey. 470-yard par 5 8th hole. Another really bad drive. Tried to save it here, just play back onto the fairway, but unfortunately clipped the trees. This next shot was one of the more pleasing shots of the day. Tried to play a bit of a draw shot around a tree, and the result of it was pretty good. Got the shape right and got a good bit of run down the fairway. From 75 yards away from the hole at the bottom of the hill, I was hoping for a much better outcome here. Hit an absolutely terrible shot. Hit it about 30 yards in front of me. And then the next shot looked good to me in the air, but unfortunately it would come down and just run off the green. And from here, a chip onto the green. followed by a 2-putt, and we would walk off with a triple bogey 8. Par 5, 9th hole, probably the worst drive of the day. And I was not happy with that, as you can probably tell by my reaction. Unfortunately, the camera would fall, so you wouldn't see me hit it into the trees. I played out of the trees with a 2-iron hybrid. Clipped the top of the last tree that you can see in front of me, but it didn't really impact the distance of the shot, and I was still able to get up in and around the green. From here, I would hit a really bad chip shot and not even reach the green. Another chip shot would get us onto the green. And this was a pretty tricky putt on the 9th hole, with there being massive contours on the green, massive slope. But we would tap in and we would walk away with a double bogey 7. That was a front nine to forget about. And we moved on to the 10th hole, 380-yard par 4 to start the back 9. A very good drive off the tee, flying about 235 yards, left us about 150 yards to the pin. Had a good shot with an 8-iron here. Was looking pretty straight, but the wind pushed it a wee tiny bit to the left, but it still caught a piece of the green, which left us a birdie putt. But we would miss the birdie putt and we would tap in for a par. On to the par 3 11th hole, playing 143 yards today to the pin. The approach shot in this one, I would pull it a bit to the left. It would take a wee bit of an unfortunate bounce down the hill a bit. And leave me with a chip shot onto the green to try save par. Unfortunately, the chip shot was a mile away from the hole, but I was able to 2-putt and walk away with a bogey. Now on to the 396 yards, par 4, 12th hole, which is also the second hardest hole on the golf course. Had a decent enough drive here, but was just caught by the wind a bit and got pushed to the right. And was still just over 200 yards to go to get to the flag. I knew I couldn't make it, so I decided to take the smart approach and try lay up. I had a good layup shot. Just came down to the bottom of the hill on the 12th hole. After laying up, I had 85 yards left of the hole. A decent gap wedge would leave me a chance with a putt for par. From here with the par putt, I was hoping at worst to walk away with a bogey, but unfortunately it would be another 3-putt and we would walk off with a double bogey, and it would leave us plus 22 after 12 holes. On to the par 3, 13th hole, 171 yards up the hill. The tee off shot would be hit a bit fat, and would leave us a chip shot from here to try get up and down for par. The chip shot would find the green, but unfortunately it would push the par putt, tap in for bogey, and move on to the 14th, which is a 348 yard par 4. If you're brave, you can cut the bushes. I decided just to go with a 3-wood just to try get myself in a nice position. From here, I tried to play a bit of a chippy 7-iron down the fairway. Tried to land it a bit short of the green, hoping that it would run on. Unfortunately, just caught a wee bit too much of the rough and didn't quite make the green. From here, I would try to go with the Texas wedge. And I would misread that completely and leave myself with a tricky putt, which I would miss. I also missed the following putt, and it would be another 3 putt to walk off with a double bogey. Moving on to the 280 yard par 4 15th hole. Drive would sneak a wee bit out to the right and come down just at the other side of the bunker. And because it's been so dry and the course is playing so fast, I thought I would try to be clever and play a bit of a low runner from 76 yards, but unfortunately I don't have that sort of skill in my locker. So that left me with a shortish bump and run shot to play, which I was able to get up onto the green, not as close to the hole as I would have liked. This was a putt for par. But I would tap in for a bogey and move on. That would leave me plus 26 after 15 holes, and break 90 was well and truly out the window, and it was now a scramble to see if I could break 100. On to the 185 yard par 3 16th hole that plays downhill. If you're familiar with this hole, you'll know that there's a tiny little stream just off the back of the green, which I managed to find. So I would have to drop and play my third shot here. I was hoping to get close enough to the hole to get up and down for bogey. If I didn't have to drop and I was chipping onto the green and this putt was for par, I would have been happy enough, but unfortunately it wasn't, and we would have ended up walking away with a double bogey 5. Now on to the 338 yard par 4 17th hole, which also plays uphill. A decent drive here. The drive runs through the fairway a wee tiny bit into the rough and left us about 130 yards to the green, which came up a wee bit short, a wee bit to the left. And we would get that good old Texas wedge out again, but as you can see from the reaction and hitting the ground, it didn't work quite as well as I would have liked. If I had got to be a bit closer with the Texas wedge off the green, I might have been able to get a par, but it would be a 2-putt bogey moving on to the 18th hole. On the 18th, I tried to play a wee bit of a draw shot. Started right, came back a bit, but didn't come back quite enough to make the fairway, and came down on top of a wee mound just off the right hand side of the fairway. Sadly, for the second time this round, my camera would fall, but I was able to hit that shot to a decent yardage and give myself a chance of making a birdie. But the approach shot went right, and from here it was a tricky putt with a bit of break and a bit of speed in it, which I hit a decent bit past the hole. And not for the first time in this round of golf, I would walk off this green with a dirty, smelly 3-putt. And that's how my scorecard looked after the round. Plus 31, 101 strokes. Definitely didn't break 90, didn't break 100. Despite my bad performance on the course, I had an unbelievable day at Greenacres. The greenkeepers up there have done a top job of keeping the course in really good condition despite all the sunshine we've been getting and the lack of rain. If you want some more videos like this, like and subscribe for more. Thanks.